easy. All you do is get your license, drive a nice car, have a nice watch, and just start cashing checks. It's so easy.
What's for dinner in Vail?
Well, you would know. It's called Matsuhisa, the patented drink, the gardener. Came here for the winter and stayed for the summer. It's God's country. My first job was in a souvenir shop in Galveston on the seawall. My main motivation has kind of always been my kids. Corporate-minded people come in and they look at a second home, a lifestyle decision. It's all very number driven, like cap rate and what kind of return and
price
kind
per
of
square foot.
price per foot. This is where they go, which I get. They're finance guys. Like, it doesn't really work that way. Whatever it is here, once you're on the other side of it and you're in your house for a year, you're gonna be like, I get it.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Real Talk. Thank you always for listening. I am always appreciative of your all the loyal subscribers that we've had over the course of a year and change. I really got into podcasting during the pandemic. It actually was going on before the pandemic, but we really got into a deep dive. And as many of my followers already know, we've gone through and interviewed people on my show within the Compass family from Boston, Washington, D.C., Newport Beach, Los Angeles, Denver, Colorado, and so forth. And today, I'm proud to share with you one of our newest team members in the Compass family, Tom Dunn, representing Vail, Colorado. Compass and Vail merged about a month ago, and we're recording this today is the 8th of April. And fast track to a few weeks. I'm here in Vail to actually meet Tom in person. Welcome him to the Compass family, and he's also been showing me around the mountains. So it's been a great time. Just to give you a quick intro about Tom. Tom hailing from Galveston, Texas. Tom moved to the Vail Valley back in June of 1994 to pursue his love of mountain biking and skiing while working within the hospitality industry. Fast track to today. Tom's been selling luxury properties across the Vail Valley since 2000, exceeding $5 million in sales. Across the Vail Valley since 2000, exceeding $500 million worth of sales. Specializing in luxury properties in Vail, Beaver Creek, and Lion's Head, his excellent reputation has earned through the years of smart business negotiation that helps his clients achieve their real estate goals in a manner that is both rewarding and enjoyable. With success in every part of the Vail real estate market, as well as the complex field of property management and vacation rentals, Tom brings a plethora of Vail real estate experience to the table. Please follow him on Instagram at TD in Vail. That's T as in Tom, D as in Dunn, in Vail, as well as his group at the Stockton Group _Vail. Again, that's at the Stockton Group _Vail on Instagram. When Tom is not busy working on his clients' real estate deals, he can be found biking around the network of trails throughout the Vail Valley, or my favorite, snowboarding on Vail Mountain. So Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate your time, man, and thanks for taking time to come on the episode, the first Vail episode, hopefully first of many, we'll see. But to our listeners, just to give those that are maybe not frequenters of Vail, or maybe not frequenters of the sport of skiing, snowboarding, or mountain biking, or cycling, let's give them a little introduction to the market, and maybe some of your knowledge, your veteran knowledge. So here are a couple questions. Maybe you can answer them in a couple sentences.
Sure.
So for starters, if you're a visitor, what's for dinner in Vail?
Well, you would know. It's called Matsuhisa.
Okay. What's the detail on that?
Details. Well, there are a few around the country. So if you've had the pleasure of visiting one,
Yes, sir.
I have to say ours is probably the best in the Vail Village. Great space, awesome food. The service is amazing, and the patented drink, the gardener, which if you know, you know, and if you don't, come to Vail and I'll teach you.
Okay.
So yes, that's the must.
All right. What's your favorite mountain to ride in? So I guess to break it down for listeners, Vail is off Highway 70, and
right.
And on 70, there are probably half a dozen or more ski resorts. You have, coming in from Denver, you pass Loveland Pass, you pass Arapahoe Basin, and then you pass Copper, and then Breckenridge, and then Vail is next, and then after that you see Beaver Creek. You see another private mountain, I guess, right after Beaver Creek. There's another one there. And then you are on your way onto another part of Colorado. So, for you as a veteran, what is your favorite mountain to ride in?
Well, so we call it the I-70 corridor, and as you said, as you're coming up from Denver, you've got all these different ski resorts in Summit County. My personal favorite is Beaver Creek, and Vail Valley is made up of Vail Mountain and the resort of Beaver Creek. Beaver Creek is actually 3 smaller mountains: Beaver Creek, Bastard Gulch, and Arrowhead. When I moved to the Vail Valley, I initially started working in Beaver Creek, and as I say, when you move here, you kind of grow up in a skiing a mountain. And because I worked in Beaver Creek, that's where I taught myself how it was a skier when I moved here, and then taught myself how to snowboard. And so that's kind of my home base. So
what's the major difference between the two mountains?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, Vail is about 4 times as large as Beaver Creek.
Oh, okay.
So it's more spread out, great terrain. Beaver Creek's a little bit more compact, and you can get where you need to go quicker. Meaning, Vail, you go up and you kind of have to spread out. Beaver Creek, you go up and you're dropping lines, right off the top. So
for a first-time visitor, would you recommend one over the other?
Kind of really depends on what you're looking for. They're both great mountains. Beaver Creek, first time, if you're not necessarily a mountain person or versed in navigating a mountain, it's real easy to find your way around and not get lost at Beaver Creek. Vail can be a little bit overwhelming because it is big. So, again, have a preference to Beaver Creek. But they're both great mountains.
Okay. Give me next question. Give me one secret tip that locals don't always give to visitors.
Well, there's all kinds of private little stashes. So when it snows, it's a local might steer some visitors away from their snow stashes.
Okay.
So I would tell you if you like powder, right? Beaver Creek, Royal Elk Glade. That's the spot.
Say that again?
Beaver Creek, Royal Elk Glade.
Royal Oak Lake?
Royal Elk Glade.
Royal Elk Lake. Okay, that's the run.
Yep.
Okay.
Great tree run. It's accessed by a high-speed quad. You can go there and just lap it for like 2 hours and blow yourself out, and then you're done. Yeah, it's great. And it holds snow. That's the spot. Royal Elk Glade.
Glade, okay.
Glade, yep, that's it.
My buddy Jared Kleinstein, who's on the very most recent episode, who's also a frequenter of Beaver Creek, he actually runs a startup in Denver.
Oh, wow.
His family grew up in Beaver Creek as well. And I'm not sure if he's going to appreciate that tip to be given out to the public, but no, I'm sure some of us that are frequent skiers or snowboarders would appreciate that tip.
I have one more. I got one more tip. The other one is when to visit, because people always say, "When's the best time to come?"
True, yeah.
It's
not New Year's, huh?
What's that?
Not New Year's.
No. It's January. It's like right after the holidays. It's like mid-January. That's the best time to visit. It's not busy. The snow is usually good. Things aren't as crazy, aren't as expensive.
Sure.
That's the best time of the year to visit.
Okay. All right. So we know that.
Pro tip.
Favorite bar in Vail?
Favorite bar in Vail. I'm gonna have to go with Matsu again.
Wow, you're a loyal customer.
I'm loyal. Right now,
it's not sponsored by Matsu.
No, it's not.
For some reason.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Anyway. Right now the bar is shut down.
Sure.
As you know, as we were there. But when pre-COVID and hopefully soon, it's the spot.
Okay.
It's the spot. It's just nice and lively and festive.
And it's located in this area called the Solaris. So
Yep.
Can you kind of explain to listeners what that is?
Yep. So Solaris is kind of main in the Vail Village. So a handful of years ago in the early 2000s, a local developer bought a cluster of older buildings and basically tore it down and built this great kind of core ice skating rink, luxury condos, nice commercial arena. Which is kind of now the hot spot for Vail.
Right. I'm usually there when it's the Burton US Open, and they have the sound stage there, and they have the shows every night. It seems to be like the almost like the main gathering area
Yep.
of Vail, right?
Main and Main now is what we call it. Main Street and Main Street.
Now, can you tell me, is that complex, is that a hotel, is that a condo? Who's above the ground? Who's above those restaurants?
No hotels. It's all privately owned condos. Yep.
Okay. And visitors that visit could rent and stay there
Yep.
and kind of experience the main area of Vail.
Absolutely.
Okay, got it.
Can absolutely rent there. And if you need help, give me a shout. I'll help you.
We'll do. We'll get everybody plugged in on your contacts in the show notes. Favorite event in Vail? Vail, just kind of like Aspen. You know, Aspen has the food and wine and Aspen Jazz, and they have all these events that are consumed by people throughout the United States. So tell me about the events in Vail and what's your favorite?
Well, there's a lot to choose from. You've kind of already hit on one, the Burton U.S. Open.
Yes, that's my favorite.
It's my favorite. Yeah. And then from there, coming out of spring into the summer, we have the Gopro Games, which kind of launches the official start of the summer. Kind of not a X Games, more of a kind of mountain sports type of event. Lots of local athletes, good vibe. That's probably my second favorite behind the Burton U.S. Open.
Okay, great. And then there's some other events, right, that are held throughout the year. I think the famous one's the GoPro event.
Yep, that was it. Yep.
Oh, that's the one you were just talking about.
Yep, the GoPro Games. We've got the Vail Summer Sunday Farmers Market.
Okay.
Every Sunday throughout the summer, which is it's a huge hit.
Okay.
Lots of people coming to that. I mean, it's on a Sunday it can be like a powder day. You've got cars. In the wintertime we've got cars parked down the frontage, and the Sunday same thing. So good vibe. Music.
They have something at the Ford Amphitheater. Right?
Yep.
There's always events out there.
Yep. There's always music there throughout the summer. They got the Hot Summer Nights. So every Tuesday night they got a free show at the amphitheater, which is nice. Good local vibe.
Okay.
Great weather. And then Taste of Vail, which is a little bit later in the summer, which is a good food venue. All the local restaurants come out into the streets and put up tents, and it's awesome.
I think a lot of people, when they talk about Vail and Aspen and Telluride, a lot of people fail to realize is the spring and summertime is just as good, if not better, than the winter ski season. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely correct. And we actually have a saying in the real estate world: came here for the winter and stayed for the summer.
Yes.
100%. And I can tell you, like, showing clients property, and like, where are you from? Have you been here? Have you ever been here in the summer? And the majority of people haven't been here in the summer.
They haven't.
No. And
they've only skied here New Year's Eve or Christmas.
Yeah. They come out and they ski with their family, and they're wherever they are in the summertime. And I've told countless people over the years, like, you have to come in the summertime. And they're like, really? Like, what's there to do? And there's no snow on the ground, so what's it look like? I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes, it's God's country.
It's God's country.
Yeah. The events or the things or activities that an individual, whether it's just a single guy or girl or a family, I mean, what kind of things do people enjoy here in the summertime?
Oh my gosh. Well, one, just the weather.
Yeah.
So I tell people, like, even if you don't do anything, just sitting out and hanging out, like, it's just so comfortable. In the evening time, it gets cool. You want to put on a sweater and go to dinner, or just hang out during the day and enjoy the sun. So really, the weather alone is, whether or not you're into biking, kayaking, rock climbing, tennis, golf, hiking, jeeping, I mean, everything. Fishing, yes, thank you. Fishing, tennis,
cycling, it's endless.
It's really endless.
More things to do than the winter.
There really is. And so when people say, well, what's there to do the winter? I'm like, well, the winter's great, but if you're not really, a downhill type of skier person, or really want to be out in the weather,
you're stuck in the house maybe.
Yeah, a little stuck. But summertime, and hey, even if your pastime is like eating and drinking, and you just go sit on a deck and have a nice meal.
Right.
It's here.
Yeah, it's all here.
Yeah.
No, that's true. One of the best things that I've realized is not a lot of air conditioning in the building units. maybe in the townhouse, the single family house that we're in, asking was it $7 million?
Yep.
$7 million. I'm sure this house has a full HVAC system, but I have noticed the majority of the properties that I have stayed in, or leased in, or hotels that I've frequented, don't have AC units. And the reason, people from out of town, they come and they get worried because there's no AC in any of these apartments or homes, you know, what do you tell them?
Well, we have a lot of people coming here from the southern states, and even the East Coast, where it can get muggy and hot and
so humid. Yeah.
And people, again, it's people are really surprised. They just assume that there's AC, and and especially from Texas. I'm from Texas, so I get it. And showing property, and somehow like, wait, there's AC here, right? I'm like, no. They're like, wait, what do you mean there's no AC? So yeah,
how do you live?
Yeah. So it's easy for me to relate because I say, look, I grew up in Galveston, Texas, where it's like 9,000% humid.
And Galveston is by the water.
Yeah, Galveston's by the water. It's extremely warm and humid. And I said, look, I grew up there. This is nothing like that. Yeah, in southern states, you're running from AC to AC in the summertime, and it's like it's not like that. I mean, yeah, are there days when it's warm? Sure, but you're not walking around sweating like in Galveston. Like you can leave the house and it's like you need a shower like 5 minutes once you're outside. It's not like that. It's a dry heat, right? It's a dry heat.
Dry heat, yeah.
So, and it cools off at night. So
and it gets cold at night.
It can get cool for sure.
In the summertime.
Yeah, it can get cool.
Yeah,
cool. So people, I can tell you, some people have just kind of looked at me with the side eye, like, okay, I guess I'm just going to take your word for it. Yeah, I've sold millions and millions of dollars to real estate to people that took the leap that, okay, I guess we'll be okay with AC. But it typically is like, look, you can bolt on AC to anything, right? You can retrofit it afterwards.
Right.
So just live in it. If I'm wrong, which I'm probably not going to be wrong because I've lived here 20 something years, you're going to be okay. But if you really feel like you need it, you can add it later.
You know, I think it's one of the most beautiful things. You're kind of in tune with the nature in the summertime, and you're not really overspending or over-consuming on electric. And most of it is from running your AC units. I think it is part of the beauty of living in Colorado is that having that aspect of being more in tune with your surroundings and nature more than anything else. So that's one of the reasons why Colorado is one of the fastest growing states in America, population-wise.
Yeah.
So let's do a little pivot. I like to use that word pivot on our show.
Okay.
I want to know a little bit about you. You know, what were you like as a kid? Where you grew up? What were your interests? Maybe you had some influences within your life, within your family, friends. Maybe some coaches if you played sports or mentors. I mean, tell me about your upbringing.
Sure. Well, I'm adopted. Little known fact there. I'm adopted. My parents adopted me at birth. My dad was stationed in the Navy just outside of Miami, and my mom worked at a hotel or a hospital at the time, and a woman was coming in from Colombia to give her baby up for adoption, and my parents at the time decided that they wanted to adopt a child. So that was in 1970. Shortly after that, my dad was discharged from the Navy, and they went back to their hometown of Galveston, Texas, where I wasn't born there, but raised there, you know, all but the first couple months of my life. So beach town, if you're not familiar with it, Galveston's basically a big sandbar, barrier island for the Gulf Coast.
It's right in the Pacific.
Oh, well, no, Gulf of Mexico.
Gulf.
Yep, Gulf of Mexico. Okay. Probably most notable for the 1900 hurricane that hit it and was still the worst natural disaster in U.S. history, and was the Wall Street of the South at the turn of the century. So big port town. Okay. So lots of history. But childhood was pretty mellow. Grew up surfing and skating. I was kind of that kind of quintessential kid, windsurfing, lots of water sports. Have a younger brother that's about a year younger than me that was my biological son to my parents. Okay. But nothing too crazy. Just kind of hanging out, living the Texas lifestyle, and graduated high school, did fairly well in high school, and went to the University of Texas. Was longing to get out of the small town of Galveston, which was about 40,000 people at the time.
Small, right?
Yeah, and was looking to kind of spread my wings a little bit. Went to the University of Texas, was there at a great time in Austin. That was pre-tech boom and all that.
What did you study?
Marketing.
Okay. Were you always in kind of that salesy business?
You know, I guess I've always kind of had a hustle. about myself.
Sure.
When I started working, I was 13.
What kind of jobs did you do as a teen?
Well, I worked in my first job was in a souvenir shop in Galveston on the seawall.
Okay.
That my dad got me. So I rode my bike there every day, and then rode home, got my surfboard, and went surfing every day afterwards. That was kind of my little routine. And then from there, what did I do? I sat on the beach and sold umbrellas and rented umbrellas and chairs.
Oh, all right, yeah, that's quintessential any teenager's job.
Yeah. So that was kind of my deal growing up, but when I went to college, business kind of seemed like the natural segue. Growing up in high school, I kind of felt like I always wanted to be in Wall Street, in the financial world,
so
as a stockbroker, equities trader, or whatever at the time.
Okay.
And then when I got to college at the University of Texas, in the business school, I realized that probably wasn't where I was headed. Being in the business school, and we kind of talked about this the other night, had lots of friends that were headed to like accounting firms and this.
Yeah,
and
they
that.
wanted to go to the Big Five, stable jobs, salary,
all that stuff. And I realized I guess college was important for me because I learned what I didn't want to do, not necessarily what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But I saw these guys, and I quite frankly, I didn't have the grades to do any of that. I mean, I kind of majored in more like life college.
Human studies.
Yeah, human studies.
Yeah.
Than actual school. But it taught me what I didn't want to do, which is I didn't want to be chained to a desk. I didn't really want to have somebody yelling at me what to do all the time.
Right.
So after college, I worked in Austin, had this sales job that was brutal, and had a high school buddy that
Did you move back home after college?
Nope. I stayed in Austin, worked
okay.
for a couple of years with my college roommate buddies in Austin down on 6th Street, back when 6th Street was a thing.
Right, like a crowded share apartment.
Yep.
And
we just kind of hung out and had a lot of bro time and hanging out time.
Partied hard, worked hard.
Yeah, pretty much, exactly.
I can only imagine what Austin was like in the 90s. Must have been.
Oh, it was great.
It could have been mayhem.
It was great. It was super fun. It was
not
still
a lot of rules.
No, not a lot of rules. Still pretty mellow. Everything was pretty low key, but we had a great time.
Good.
But as I got out of college and was working, I realized working was kind of, living in a city seemed a little overrated. And I had a good buddy that I went to high school with that went to CU, University of Colorado in Boulder. And all through college, I had come out to Colorado, and instead of going to the beach for spring break, which is where everybody wanted to go when you're in college, I grew up at the beach. I'm like, So I would come out here, sleep on his couch or on his floor in CU, and me and my buddies would drive out to the resorts. So do that I-70 corridor, Breckenridge and Vail and wherever. And we would drive out every day for a week during spring break, skiing in jeans, Scotch Guard new jeans, coming out, total broke college style.
Yeah.
And we did that all through college, and come out here and stay sleep on his floor and come out and ski. So when I started working in Austin, I'm like, there's got to be more, kind of having, I don't want to say midlife crisis, but what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And
every kid in his 20s will face that at one point in time, right?
And in hindsight, was the very best decision I could have ever made, even though at the time my parents thought I was completely lost my mind. But my buddy moved, when he graduated from Boulder, moved out to Vail.
Yeah.
And worked in a hotel. And I got to this point where his name's Rob. I called Rob and said, hey man, I think I'm just going to move out there.
Yeah.
He's like, come on. So again, came out, moved in with him. He got me a job at a hotel in Beaver Creek. Slept on his floor. That was June of 1994.
June 1994.
When they were chasing OJ in the white Bronco.
Okay.
Where were you?
Yeah.
So that's when I moved here, and we had the best summer. We had no money. I made $7 an hour working hospitality. At the end of the summer, he ended up leaving. He went to Tahoe. To Squaw. Okay. And I'm like, I'm going to stay here, and the rest is history. So
fast forward to kind of modern day times when you got into the real estate industry. What was the entry point to that? Was it somebody that you met? Was it some job that you did? Was it you just wanting independence? A lot of people come into this industry for different reasons, right? So what was yours?
That's a great question. Well, at the time I was in property management. So I was in hospitality, a concierge for a lot of years, and then segued into property management. And at the time I had met my, I was married, no longer married, but at the time I had met my soon-to-be wife, and we started trying to figure out how we were going to make a family and live here long term.
Yeah.
And in property management, you're exposed to real estate brokers all the time. And I realized that the property, like the sales part of property management, meeting a homeowner, okay, I'm going to take care of your home, let's figure out how this is going to look. That I really enjoyed that process, and I was good at it. So as I'm kind of looking at the landscape, okay, I'm going to stay in Vail. It's an expensive place to live. How am I going to support my family? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? I'm like, okay, well, this guy's doing okay.
Yeah.
I think I can probably at least do that.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how I decided to take the leap. One day I was snowboarding and actually wrapped my knee around a tree.
Oh no.
Yeah, and had to have surgery. So I was kind of down and out. So I took my real estate course. And back then you actually went to a class and they taught you, and it was before, the internet really.
Right, so you couldn't walk, you couldn't do anything, you couldn't work.
Yeah, so I
studied for the exam.
Yeah, so I studied for the exam, took the class, and just took the leap of faith and said, okay, I'm going to sell houses. So I wouldn't say it was probably more, I don't want to say out of necessity. It wasn't like I was destitute, but but just trying to plan for the future in my family. Like, how am I going to provide for my family?
Absolutely.
And it looked like fun.
Yeah, okay. A lot of people think that when they watch the TV shows,
oh my gosh,
that looks so fun.
It's so easy. All you do is get your license, drive a nice car, have a nice watch, and just start cashing checks. It's so easy. It's so easy.
When you first joined, did you have a mentor? Did you join the team? Did you just kind of wing it by yourself? And how did it start for you?
Super fortunate. At the time, I was with a large property management company here, and had done well with the property management side of it. And when I decided to go to get my real estate license, there's a small boutique firm in Beaver Creek. Okay. At the time, it was called the Forbes Group.
Okay.
Craig Forbes was the founder, local guy, no affiliate.
Not related to the Forbes magazine.
No, just coincidentally, same last name. And I wanted to be in Beaver Creek because that's what I knew.
Yeah.
So a colleague of mine who was also in property management went into the business, similar track as me, went into the business like 2 years before me, and we remained buddies. He's still a good friend of mine today in real estate. And I said, hey, I want to make the leap. He's like, oh, you should come join us.
Oh, good.
So I did, and he gave me a job, gave me a seat in Beaver Creek, and basically taught me the business.
Tell me about your first deal.
My first deal. I do remember. It was actually a buddy of mine who was also a property manager, and he owned a little townhome in Edwards down the road, and he was getting married, and he wanted to buy a house, and he gave me a shot.
Oh, good.
He gave me a shot. Good. And it was, the condo back then was maybe $300,000, and the house he bought was maybe $500,000, which to me was like
huge.
Whoa, I didn't really know.
Well, $500,000 in the 90s around here is still probably really expensive.
Yeah, it was.
On the higher end of the market.
It was on the higher end of the market for sure.
Yeah.
And then that was my first deal, and we got through that. And Craig Forbes, who brought me into the business, he was a luxury broker and established himself. So pretty soon into my career, I got exposed to deals that I really had no business being exposed to. Mm-hmm. And then leveraging my property management contacts before into sales.
Sure.
So I had these relationships on the property management
with
level.
the owners too.
Yep, with owners in luxury properties in Bachelor Gulch. And a couple of those guys took chances on me and said, oh, and these were big numbers, $3, $4, $5 million houses.
Right.
That at the time, again, I had no real business doing, but they liked me, and they knew how I was in property management, and they gave me the opportunity to sell their houses and help them buy houses. So within a year to 2 years of being in the business, I was all of a sudden kind of on the map with doing larger transactions.
It's almost like you were by accident placed into real estate to be successful by default because you had so much property management experience in the past. You already had that base building block. It's different than somebody moving in from Juilliard and deciding music is not their career and then jumping into real estate. You kind of already had that foundation for you.
It worked really well, and I was able to leverage it. I kind of say real estate found me. I didn't necessarily find it. Mm-hmm. But it is, looking back on it now, 20 plus years, it was a real blessing, super fortunate, and I still thank my clients that gave me a chance back then, that are still clients of mine now, for giving me the opportunity.
It looks like you have no regrets.
I have zero regrets. And I'll tell you, when I sat down with my mom and dad and said, hey, I'm going to move to Vail and I don't have a plan, and loaded up my, little 98 red Honda Civic, 1989 red Honda Civic, called the Zippy Tomato. Okay. Loaded it up with my skis and my bike on the back, and I'm like,
how are you gonna ski in a Honda Civic? I don't even know these days. There's a will, there's a way, right?
Oh, we made it fit. That and my stereo, that's all I really needed. And moved up here without a plan, and now all these years later, it was the best decision.
I mean, I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask you, now you kind of answered, is like, if you were to give advice in your 20s right now, personally and professionally, what would you tell yourself?
I mean, I would tell myself to, well, one, never take yourself too seriously, right? I mean, I think that's kind of always a big one. And two, there are no limits. There are no limits. Right. And I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. I mean, in the real estate world, you eat what you kill, right? 100%. And that can be good and that can is when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad.
It's terrible. It's rock bottom.
It's bad. Yeah. And I've been there. It's still always a tough thing.
That's tough. That's tough. What's your motivating factor for you right now? Is it time? Is it power? Is it money? Is it influence? Is it flexibility? What's your main motivation these days?
My main motivation has kind of always been my kids.
For sure. Right?
Taking care of them and making sure that they're taken care of, as far as
make sure that they're applied to school.
They're so
applied to life.
Applied to life, and that I'm being a good father to them and stewarding them well, and obviously providing for them.
Sure.
The right now where I'm at is trying to find the balance. I recently got a new assistant, Danielle, who you've met, who's amazing.
Danielle Wade, you're in the back. See you.
She's been great, kind of pointing me in the right direction. Right now, I think my main focus is my daughter's about ready to go to school. She's a senior, and figuring out what that next phase of life looks for her. And now that I'm going to be an empty nester soon, kind of focusing back on me and what makes me tick.
Sure.
Staying healthy, staying fit, enjoying the mountain lifestyle, and kind
making sure that you have a nice, long, healthy life ahead of you.
Yep.
50 plus years.
Yep, for another 50 years.
Yeah.
So I would say, as my kids are starting to leave the house now, I'd say the focus is gonna, what I'm looking forward to is kind of focusing on me again.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's been a long time since that's been a primary focus.
Sure. I guess when you look back towards the end of your career, you'll want to see, obviously, the accomplishments, the sales volume, and the rankings, and you joining Compass, and going IPO and doing things like that. I mean, those are all great things, but I guess your ultimate motivation is to make sure that your family and your kids are seen after.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So it's over the years, as you get success and you're in that kind of competitive environment, then the numbers game becomes more important. Mm-hmm. Like ranking and volume, as you said.
Sure.
But honestly, it's never been anything that I'm
focused on.
I've never been focused on it.
Right.
I've been absolutely blessed to be able to sell houses that nobody needs in the Vail Valley. Let's be honest.
It's a second home.
It's mostly wants, right? And dealing with people that have the capacity to do mostly whatever they want, right? Sure. So I never take that for granted, and it's successes and numbers and volume and production have always just been a byproduct of wanting to do a good job, right, and wanting to work hard. Mm-hmm. And which is what I tell my kids. You don't have to know what you want to do in life necessarily right now, which there's always a lot of pressure to, when you go to college, what are you going to study? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Just do a good job.
Yeah.
Make good decisions and treat people fairly, and the rest will follow. And that's kind of the way my life has worked out as far as my career. It wasn't like I wanted to be number one this, or I wanted to sell 50 million this or this. It just kind of happened because I really enjoyed what I do, and I still love what I do. Mm-hmm. And right. I think that's important.
That's most important, right?
Yep.
Yeah. When your work is fun and life is fun. Refkin, refer to Refkin Rob. He says this all the time. Just work hard and be nice to people, and sometimes it can be that simple.
It really is. And in the business, you answer your phone, you call people back, you show up every day, and the rest kind of falls into place.
Right. It does. Yeah. And that's why you're not really focused on being number one.
No.
But because you were hailed in the outlet media as the number one sales team in Vail, what are some of the life's learnings that you would like to give to perhaps the younger generation of up-and-coming real estate brokers or independent business owners throughout the journey that you've been on?
Piece of advice?
Yeah, one or two pieces.
Surround yourself by good people.
Okay.
With good people.
Very important. Socially and professionally.
Socially and professionally. You know, a buddy of mine had a really good saying. He's like, what you sit in gets on you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate to be affiliated with the Stockton Group and my partner, Ty Stockton and Pat Barrett and Danielle.
Yeah.
And, you know, surrounding yourself around people that push you, like, we good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I never want to be the smartest guy in the room.
Sure.
Right? Because I always want to be challenged.
Saying.
What's that?
That's a popular saying.
Yeah.
For sure.
If you see an opportunity to be challenged, to be in a group of people where, you know, you're not the smartest one, right?
Right.
I think those are the opportunities you need to look for. People that are going to push you socially, you know, professionally, all of that.
Yeah. Or even, you know, becoming a better father. You look at your other friends that are fathers and see how they're doing. And, oh, he's better at that than me. Or you
surround yourself by good people.
Sure.
Because it's going to always challenge you. Because you're going to hit spots in your professional, personal career where you're going to be challenged.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, should I do this or should I do that?
If you could change, speaking of surrounding yourself, if you could change one or two things about you, what would it be?
Probably we were just talking about this the other day. I would say probably be a little more patient.
Yeah. Okay.
I can be kind
of fiery on the phone and stuff.
Yeah, fiery on the phone, and let's just get it done. Let's just make a decision.
You are not the only broker on this planet with that personality.
Be more patient, and probably the other one would be maybe listen more.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's everybody's. That's something that everybody needs to work on for sure. Pivoting.
Yep.
I think one of the coolest things about our industry, you know, not me just doing business in New York City or wherever, all the brokers across America, we all get to meet so many different types of people from different professional backgrounds. You being in Vail, you get to meet an especially, I would say, interesting group of people throughout all internationally and domestically. You get to learn from these people too. I mean, tell me, who is the typical buyer? What do they do? What kind of industries are they in? And what kind of things do you learn from these people?
That's a great question. So when I initially got into the business, I realized that, and I'm going to talk in generalities.
Yeah, fine. I'm not saying call out names or anything.
No, but I would say the biggest percentage of buyers in our valley are in the financial world, corporate world, right?
Okay.
Financial, corporate, business owners, Wall Street,
oil.
Yeah, definitely oil, but
more finance.
Finance, bigger business.
Okay.
And when I got into the business, I realized that, and had a couple guys that I dealt with very closely that were finance guys in New York. And it was awesome because when I was in high school, I kind of thought that that's where I wanted to go. But there's this whole like nomenclature that comes with that world, like just their terminology and the way they look at things. And I learned early on, and I still use a lot of the phrases from the financial world.
Okay.
And that was really interesting because they're number driven, they're fast paced, they're very deal focused, very decisive, very deal focused. And I kind of got that. I learned that mentality very early on, and I learned that kind of that financial world talk track and how those guys think and process stuff. And I still use it today because I still deal with a lot of finance guys. And I actually just used it. We closed a deal in Beaver Creek, Danielle and I, and we went by to say hi and had a glass of wine with the sellers, and the husband. They're out of Miami. The husband, he said, "Hey, I just wanted to thank you because you told me something when we started down this process that really stuck with me and ended up being true." When finance guys or those kind of corporate-minded people come in and they look at a second home, a lifestyle decision, It's all very number driven, like cap rate and what kind of return and
price
kind
per
of
square foot.
price per foot, like that whole thing, which is where they go, which I get. They're finance guys.
That's their mind, yeah.
And now, having been down the road many times and read that book over and over and over, I'm able to have the conversation very honestly and candidly with you and say, look, a lot of guys come in and think that they can plug it into a box. It's got to do this. It's got to cash flow. It's got to blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it doesn't really work that way. This is a lifestyle decision. This is a choice that you're going to make. Maybe the numbers work. Maybe they don't. It's not about that. It's about lifestyle. It's about memories. It's about having a place to come and bring your family, right? And I guarantee you, like, whatever it is here, once you're on the other side of it and you're in your house for a year, you're going to be like, I get it. Whether or not it's, renting enough or doing whatever you think it needed to do in the beginning. Yeah. Once you're on the other side and you're actually living it, you're going to get it. And we went and had, as I said, a glass of wine after he closed, and he was sitting there and he's looking out at his gorgeous view. He's like, I just want to say thanks, because you were absolutely right. And he's like, and I needed to hear that. And he's like, I totally get it now. And I've had that conversation time and time again, because the finance guys think of it like that. And then I've just had one yesterday. Another finance guy, he's closing a place in Beaver Creek, and his couple numbers came off. His like square footage came in a little less than he thought it was, and he's like, I think I'm in the hole. And I'm like, bro, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. Trust me. He's like, okay. So same type of speech, and but I would say, to answer your question, it was those lessons that I learned early on in my career, dealing with those people that are still there, that I still use today. And my confidence is much different than it was then. Yeah. Right? Because now I've done enough deals, and these guys are probably now, my age, or maybe just.
And you don't want to try to counteract analytics and numbers and the price per square feet with someone that does that for a living.
Right.
And you'll never win that war with a client.
You won't win it, and you have to acknowledge it, and you have to know your audience, right? Sure. You have to know what's important to them and what language they speak and resonates with them. Yep. But over the years, I have learned how to, it's like, okay, yes, I get that, I get this, and confidently tell them, look, I've been doing this a long time. And that's only come with years and years. And now I can say, look, after 20 years, I can tell you, this is my experience. Yeah. And I've been more right than I am wrong.
I think it's really interesting what you said, that all these guys focus on the financial monetary figures of impact of a purchase, but they don't realize that, you're outside of your health, obviously, in time. Your happiness is one of your last luxuries in life, with your family or the people that you're with.
QTR, and quality time remaining. QTR.
There you go. Yes, exactly. Quality time remaining. So what, are you going to purely base your purchase off these numbers when you're not really gauging the happiness that you're going to have in life with your kids, on the mountain, visiting a place like this, or with your friends, you want to invite all over the world to come to hang out with you or visit you. I mean, what are the impacts of that? Put a monetary value on that. You can't. And and
I have got the eye roll every once in a while. I was like, oh, okay, you're giving me the memories are priceless. I'm like, but they are. They are. I mean, you can have all the money. So jaded, right? Yeah, you can have. It's funny. But it's true, and when you get to that phase in life, and you're, a lot of these guys are super busy and high powered, and they don't have time. The only way for them to really unplug is to come to their happy place, right? To Vail, and be able to really enjoy their kids and unplug and enjoy the mountain, and share that with their family and their friends. And it takes a little bit, but they get there. And then the good news is, like, hey, we need to sell this because we need a bigger place.
There you go.
Great.
And it comes back around. That's great. Yeah. That's one of the happier calls that a broker can receive in their career, in their lifetime, especially in a place like Vail.
Yep. We're selling and buying.
Exactly. Yeah. Great. We're on it. So, going back to that previous question, who are the buyers for Vail and Beaver Creek outside of finance? Are there any other industries?
Oh, sure.
I mentioned oil earlier. I guess oil is kind of boring.
No, that's true. We definitely have oil money.
You have, like, I don't know, first-time home buyers, young buyers?
Yes, we do.
Tech,
Yes.
or entertainment or movie stars. I mean, who are they?
We do have some celebrities.
Okay.
Not a ton. They typically will trend towards Aspen.
Yeah.
Just because it's a little bit more LA connected.
The Jenners, the Whitney Houstons of the world.
Yep, that's right. The professionals, doctors, attorneys, that kind of thing. Real estate guys.
Yeah.
Real estate guys love real estate in Vail.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
why do you think they choose Vail over Aspen then?
it's a price point. I mean, we're a little less expensive. Your dollar can go you a little bit further. Sure. Access, getting to and from Denver.
Direct to Eagle is to me one of the best things.
Yep.
You can't fly direct, well, at least from New York to Aspen.
There is an airport in Aspen. It can be a little dodgy getting in there.
Yeah.
Just because you're dropping in.
There's no direct flights from
Correct.
New York.
Yep.
I mean, JFK, LaGuardia, Newark, there's no direct flights to Aspen. You have to transfer to Denver or Chicago, and then if there's bad weather, then you're stuck in the transfer.
Yep. I would say access is a big part of what makes our valley hum.
Huge.
And we do have, to your point, we do have a whole market of local clientele, people that are here like me that have raised their kids here, that are real estate brokers, doctors, attorneys, your landscapers, your builders, your
the bar owner, the restaurant owner,
the bar owner, the person that owns the housekeeping business, the whatever it is. I mean, we have a whole market of that.
Got it.
For sure.
Got it.
So it's not just the luxury high end.
Sure.
We've got that and investors that come in and want rental property or multifamily type of situations. So yeah, we've got the gamut of it.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You would think. I think people that don't know Vail, they would just think it's uber luxury homes, but it's not really that. I mean, there is a local town, there is a population here.
Yep.
And I'm sure you also get a lot of younger Denver people that are they're successful. They want to buy their first, second home, maybe.
Yep. A lot of that, and most recently, coming out of COVID. And the timing of it all, the COVID and the riots, unfortunately, and that drove a lot of people to making buying decisions. The mountains that pushed that decision up. Work from home, made that decision come a little bit sooner in life. Meaning, I'll use an example. You've got a young couple that lives in Denver, and we'd like to buy something in Vail eventually, maybe one of these days. And then all of that's going on. They have the freedom to go and work wherever they want. The city's maybe becoming a little more turbulent, or at the time it was. Well, maybe we should go look now, right? And we felt that coming out of COVID into the summer, we felt this huge push from Denver of, call it 7 million buyers coming out of the woodwork. I mean, literally, we had left and right. So much to the point, I'm looking at my buyer and what are you guys drinking in Denver? Because it's you guys are it's just every phone calls we're from Denver. I mean, it was crazy. Wow. And then as we pushed through the later part of the summer into the summer and fall, then we had this huge push of buyers from everywhere. Miami, Charlotte, Asheville, the Bay Area, New York, LA, the Midwest, Kansas City, everywhere. And those are all places of people that wanted to move here permanently.
Right, very interesting.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think more people are adopting the work from home mentality. Why work from home in 1,000 square feet in downtown LA or Midtown Manhattan for that reason, where you could live, 2x, 3x that out here and work from home. As long as the Wi-Fi is good.
That's it.
Which it is. So, now that we're kind of transitioning into the market talk, what was it like maybe right before April of last year, right before COVID kind of hit? What was it like before that time? Were you guys getting hit? I mean, luxury market was probably not very good, right?
Well, so Q1 of 2020, right? January, February, we come off a really good year in 2019.
Okay, good. Okay.
And then that was kind of rolling into 2020, and we were just kind of humming along. And it all, happened very quickly.
It was right after Burton opened.
Yep, it was right after the Burton opened. That's kind of when the outbreak was going on, although we didn't know.
Yes.
I mean, I was actually at that Saturday night or Friday night of the Burton open. I was actually at Matsuhitsu, and it's a sea of people. We're just elbow to elbow at the bar.
You got a table though. VIP treatment.
I was at the bar.
I
was at the bar.
You actually got a seat at the bar though. Yeah. Still VIP.
So unbeknownst to us, that was kind of, out there, and then everything just kind of escalated quickly from there. And then
it was a pause, right? Maybe a month or two.
Yeah, I mean, we went into lockdown, and so whenever that was mid-March, and they shut the mountain down, and then it was a ghost town. So March, April, May, we pretty much were sitting on our hands and, stay-at-home orders, and we couldn't really do anything. If there was a transaction in process, you could finish it for real estate, but you couldn't.
Did anybody back out?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay. So there was still a pulse for the local market for people that needed property.
Yeah.
But for the stuff that was discretionary, right? Everything just kind of, all of our deals kind of just evaporated because nobody knew what was going on. A lot of uncertainty.
So buyers of $7 million would just forfeit their deposit and walk away, or was money wasn't hard?
No, yeah. At the point for our deals, everybody was able just to kind of walk away.
Okay.
The COVID easy button.
Yeah.
And everybody just kind of let it all.
Hindsight may be a bad idea, but you never knew, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know at the time. But as for our team, we kind of holed up and retooled, re-strategized, thinking about how we were going to come out of it.
Did you split board up the mountain all day?
No, because so they didn't even want you on the mountain because the fear was if you went up on the mountain and you got hurt,
there's nobody to help you.
There's nobody to help you, and then they didn't want people to come into and potentially crowd.
Yeah. Like who wants this backcountry skier crowding up the ICU?
Yeah, if there's this big COVID outbreak.
Yeah, sure.
So we just kind of laid low, but our team, as we were working through COVID and our contacts from around the country, and you could probably speak to this a little bit, we had heard that there was this exodus or these people that were starting to move out of New York to the Hamptons, like they were starting to flee, like this urban flight, right, to safe haven. And as we started talking and kind of hearing this and reading it in the news, we're like, wow, that's probably going to happen here. Denver here, the drive-to markets, the beach, the Utah and California, the markets where you can just flee a big city and be somewhere spectacular in an hour or two, right?
Space, yeah.
And then sure enough, that's kind of what started. So we came out and we were dead. Like we were dead. Like we were like, are we going to sell another house again? Like what the hell's going on?
You guys were kind of in an unknown, uncharted territory. Were you maybe a little scared?
Yeah, we were definitely a little bit nervous. We had planned according to the way our team is set up, and so it wasn't like we were, felt like we were going to be destitute, but at the time we didn't know. It felt very similar to 2008, 2009, where everything just kind of came apart for us, for the Valley, and we were a little late to the party there, but eventually hit the financial crisis here because we had nothing else to really equate it to. Obviously, that was an economic issue. This was a life safety health issue,
sure.
So a little bit different. But we had no idea. So as we worked through it and then we came out for the summer, then as I said, Denver picked up, and then it was just this huge wave of buyers wanting to be here, like just like
yeah.
And all of a sudden we're just like drinking from a fire hose. And it was unbelievable. It was crazy.
Do you think that trend will continue going into 2021?
Well, right now we're having supply issues. Right.
Meaning there's more brokers than listings?
No.
I saw that article the other day.
Well, in a normal market, we have around 1,500 active listings.
Okay.
Right now, we're down to 300.
Wow.
That's everything from a $400,000 condo to a $30 million house. That's everything.
Oh my goodness.
And the buyer demand is still very high. So what's that doing? It's the market's very competitive, especially in certain price points. Values are getting driven up, which is great if you're a seller. It's been a little discouraging if you're a buyer because It's just ultra competitive. It's tough. So I don't necessarily think that anything is going to change in the next, for 2021. The dynamics, the market is tough for buyers. So I think transactionally we might be down a little bit because there's just less stuff to buy.
Yeah.
But I think the demand is going to remain there. Interest rates are still favorable for those that are looking for debt. Buying power is still high, and people are still wanting to be here.
Sure.
So I don't see much changing other than just, in certain price points, deals are knife fights because you got, Denver's the same way. You can have 20 people show up with offers.
At an open house for a $500,000 single family. Yeah. That needs a lot of work. Yeah. It seems to be like it. Well, listen, I know you're busy here, so we're going to try to wrap up, but is there a couple things that you want to say to the listeners who are brokers, who are buyers or who are interested in this coming out here? Do you have a message for them?
Love to meet you.
Yeah?
Love to meet you.
Yeah.
Give us a call. whether it's real estate or whatever. If
or maybe a restaurant recommendation. Or maybe you can't get a reservation at Matsuhisa.
Yep. Give me a call. They know me well. But just I would say the Stockton Group, Tom Dunn, Compass, just use this as a resource as we've gotten into Compass now, and I've reached out to some of the top brokers from around the country. Whether it's real estate, I mean, that's part of it. But if you need anything that's Colorado, just know that we're here. Use this as a resource. Restaurant regulars, even if it's not in our valley. Like, hey, I need somebody in here, I need somebody there, or what do I do for this? I actually had a client text me the other night when we were at Matsu.
Yeah.
He said, hey, I've got a friend there and she needs a doctor. Who do I call?
Oh, great.
Stuff like that. And I replied right away. He's like, thanks. So all things Colorado, think of us. And we're always here to help.
Great. Great. Well, guys, I'm going to put Tom's contact again in the show notes along with his team's. So feel free to reach out to them with any questions regarding Vail and Beaver Creek. And again, all things Colorado. So maybe you have you're a broker or you're someone that loves Colorado listening to this and wants to get in touch with someone in Telluride, but you don't know. Tom's got a contact, or
That's
someone in
right.
Breckenridge.
That's right.
Tom's got a contact. So always lean for him for advice when it comes to the Colorado lifestyle and market. So Tom, thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate
I appreciate it.
Yep.
And I'm sure that we'll be seeing each other many times in the very near future.
Let's go snowboarding.
All right, let's do it. Thank you guys. Thanks for listening to the Real Talk Podcast. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.